Sir, you're one of the own police officers who we've heard from who tells us that. Everyone else has said the opposite. But I'm going to go to another issue with regard to shareholders. When I look at the list of companies that are shareholders or owners, for example, Aurora Cannabis, 32.5% comes from the Cayman Islands. Canvas Holdings, $2 million that come from the Cayman Islands. Supreme Cannabis Corporation, $10.5 million from Cayman Islands. And I'm just naming the Cayman Islands because we all know that it's a tax haven, but there's also Malta and other tax havens. We don't know who is behind this money. So if we're aiming to limit the black market, if this bill is trying to limit organized crime, is it trying to prevent organized crime from controlling cannabis companies, trying to do through the back door what they can't do through the front? Even if everything is closely monitored, all those people are outside this country. So how can they be controlled? How can they be monitored? How can they be vetted in terms of integrity? Now, we know that everywhere else it's illegal, and Canada does not have the right to export cannabis. That's in the bill. So, Parliamentary Secretary, to easily control and vet these shareholders in companies that produce cannabis, would you be open to foreign shareholders would you be open to having foreign shareholders not allowed as part of Canadian cannabis companies?
Frankly, Senator, your last question is a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but I can tell you what is currently available. We have already in place regulations with respect to foreign investment and subject to oversight. I think there's one thing I'd like to draw your attention to in this bill, in that this bill actually requires of the organizations who acquire and maintain licenses for the production and processing of cannabis that they submit to enhanced financial transparency, that Health Canada can and obtain the records of these financial transactions and the investments. It's built right into the bill. And in my experience, and I worked in organized crime for many, many years, organized crime doesn't like transparency. They don't like the sunshine. They don't like any possibility that their covert activities will be discovered. And yet we've built right into the bill protections. There are already systems in place with respect to foreign investment being made into Canadian companies. We have in these regulations very enhanced background checks, not only for the key participants in the corporation, but for those who are in ownership positions and who have influence in the operation of the company in order to maintain its integrity. I will tell you that I know law enforcement and all of us are concerned about the efforts of organized crime to try to infiltrate this new market. I would simply point out that for almost a century they've had 100% control of this criminal enterprise. And they have profited in the billions of dollars from it every single year. And frankly, it's an unfettered market. They have no competition and very little control that are placed upon them. And by the implementation of these regulations, by the creation of a competitive industry, and by the regulations that we have put in place, on the background checks, the security requirements, the security plans, the enhanced financial transparency that is required in this Act, we have created an environment which I think is not conducive to the activities of organized crime, and yet we must always remain vigilant. And so I would use a phrase that I've used a number of times in the past. I see this very much as a process of implementation and not simply an event. And so there is a requirement on Health Canada, on Public Safety Canada, on the RCMP and law enforcement to continue to monitor the integrity of these organizations and the entire system to maintain the integrity and the confidence the Canadians deserve that this system will not be infiltrated by organized crime. They've been in this business for a long time. The business is about to become a lot tougher for them with the implementation of this new Act. And so we want to make sure that they don't try to run in and around the back door. And so we've put an awful lot of light and oversight at that back door.
Senator Byers, followed by Madame la Sénatrice.